Hi everyone, it's Robin here from the Dance Physio. I'm here today to talk turnout. Now, of course, turnout is a huge subject and it's one of the things I get asked most commonly as a dance physio. Everybody wants to know how to improve their turnout and to have better strength and control in their turnout. Now, if you Google turnout or you look on YouTube for turnout exercises, you'll find loads and loads of different options. Some of them are really good, some of them not so much, and kind of everything in between. But the one thing I hope that we all understand at this point, that turnout is about strength and control and actually doesn't have that much to do with your passive flexibility. I hope that most everybody knows that sitting in the fog stretch for hours upon end isn't going to give you good turnout. So as a dance physio, I could talk for hours about turnout because it's actually anatomically a very complex movement. But I'm going to give you a very brief version today. I think it's important to understand the basics of turnout so that you can understand how best to use it and how best to achieve good turnout when you're actually dancing. I'm going to show you 5 of my favorite turnout exercises. Now, like I said, there are tons of different exercises you can use to improve your turnout, but I've chosen these 5 because they're safe and effective for most people, and they've been proven to be the most effective ones that I found in the clinic for people that are struggling with turnout. So to achieve turnout, or what we call external rotation of the hips, we use our big glute max muscle in combination with 6 deep muscles underneath glute max called our deep external rotators. So when you hear your teacher talk about rotating from deep in your hip socket, that's what he or she is trying to get you to use. They're trying to get you to engage those deep muscles. Now in reality, we use a combination of those deep muscles and your big glute max muscles to achieve your external rotation. We also then support that rotation a little bit with your inner thigh muscles and your hip muscles, but more or less it comes from these big deep muscles and the big glute max muscle. So one point about turnout that's actually really important but almost completely overlooked is that the firing pattern of the different deep external rotators varies quite widely depending on where your hip is. So we use all of those muscles all of the time, but the percentage of the use of each muscle varies depending on where your hip is. So whether your hip is flexed up, whether your hip is straight, whether it's to the side, to the back, you use all of the muscles, but the ratio of the usage of each muscle varies. So this is why some people can have really good turnout to the front, but they struggle when it's around to the back, or somebody might have really good turnout in fondue, but they struggle with their turnout when their knees are straight. This is because the balance of the strength in those different muscles isn't perhaps ideal. This is also why it's really important, if you want to improve your turnout, that you work on developing the strength and control in your turnout in all of the different positions. This is also why when I'm assessing turnout in dancers, I don't look at just how much they can turn out when they're standing in first position or how much they can turn out when they do a plie in second. I need to look at the turnout in all of the different positions, to the front, to the side, to the back, knee straight, fondue, everything. And then when I'm developing a turnout program, I look at building the strength in all of these different positions. So I've got for you today, like I said, the 5 exercises that's going to work on building the strength and control in all of your turnout muscles and to help you be able to use them all at the right time so that you can actually use your turnout when you're dancing. Now the first exercise is about just building a good solid level of strength in all of those deep turnout muscles as well as your glute max muscle. So for this exercise, you need an exercise band loop. It needs to be fairly small, but it also needs to be a good strong exercise band. Now you're going to take this loop and put it just above your knees. Then you're going to step your feet apart into a big wide second position. Now you want your feet turned out only a little bit, so turning them about 45 degrees apart. Then in this position, you're going to do big squat like you're sitting down into a chair and back up. The whole time you're pressing out against the band, making sure that your knees track directly over your toes. So absolutely do not let your knees collapse inward and up. Once you get stronger with this exercise, I recommend you add some weights to it. So a good way is to grab yourself a kettlebell. If you don't have a kettlebell or some hand weights, you can always put a backpack on with some books in it to make it nice and heavy. By adding the band, what you're doing is forcing those deep turnout muscles to fire up. And this is a good way to just build, like I said, a foundation of strength in those deep turnout muscles. If you're finding it difficult to keep your knees over your toes, you can walk your feet a bit closer so that you can keep your knees going directly over your toes. And as you get stronger, you step your feet further and further apart. The next exercise here works on developing your turnout to the back and to the side. So really focuses on turnout, strength and control to all positions derriere with your leg in attitude to the back, and also when your leg is in second position to the side. The third exercise works on building the strength and control, preferentially in a muscle that we call the piriformis, which is one of your really important turnout muscles. But it also uses, of course, all of the turnout muscles and helps you develop the strength and control in movements to the front and to the side. So for this exercise, you're going to lie on your side, bottom knee bent just comfortably. Then you're going to bring your top leg in front of you. So your hip is at about 90 degrees. Your knee can be bent a little bit. Then you're going to rotate as much as you can, getting as much turnout from your hip as you can. Now holding that turnout in your leg without letting your hip move at all, you're going to lift that leg up to the side and then slowly lower it down. So keeping your turnout as you lift your leg to second position and down. So make sure when you do this exercise, again, that it's only your leg that's moving, your hip is stable, so you don't let your hip roll backwards at all. And also you need to be controlling the turnout. Turn out as much as you can. Don't let your leg rotate inwards. So the final exercise is my ultimate turnout challenge. So make sure you can master all of these previous exercises first. You have a good level of basic control of your turnout. And then this final exercise is really going to take your turnout control to the next level. Now for this exercise, you do need a long exercise band loop. It needs to be somewhere around a medium strength one. Don't want it too light, but also if you have a really, really heavy one, you might struggle to use it a little bit. Although if a heavy one is all you've got, you can just tie it a little bit looser. Now, if you don't have an exercise band, you can still do this exercise without it, but it's going to be far more effective with an exercise band. And as I've talked about in previous exercises, I do recommend dancers buy a set of the exercise bands because they're not that expensive, but there's so many different things that you can use, that you can do with them. So this exercise works all of your turnout muscles through all the different positions, from your hip flex to your hip straight, in fondue, knee straight. Like I said, it's really the ultimate turnout exercise. So that's all for today. That is, like I said, a selection of some of my favorite turnout exercises that I have found to be effective for pretty much all dancers that are struggling with turnout. There are, of course, lots of other very effective exercises for turnout, but these are some of my favorites. So of course, with any exercise program, it's important that you understand how to do the exercises correctly. So any questions, send me a message. I always do my best to answer any exercise questions. And of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with my latest dance training and flexibility tips.